The spaceship HSS Rook had been silent for over 100 years. It floated in space near a dead moon, covered in dust and ice. Once it was one of the strongest warships in the human fleet. Now it was forgotten, cold, and empty. At least that's what everyone believed. Far away in a hidden part of the galaxy, a small alien scout ship moved closer to the Rook. Inside were 4 members of the Zalthari, tall, thin creatures with glowing blue eyes and smooth silver skin. They wore dark suits that made no sound, perfect for sneaking into dangerous places. Captain Srex, the leader of the team, looked at the drifting human ship. He didn't trust the silence. "Is it really dead?" asked Kren, the youngest member, looking through the ship's window. "It hasn't sent any signals in over a century," said Srix. "No heat, no power, no life signs. The humans are gone. This is just a tomb." The other 2, Vela and Orcs, didn't speak. They were already checking their gear. They were here for a reason: to find technology. Human ships were dangerous, but they held secrets, advanced weapons, AI systems, things the Zalthari wanted. With no more talk, they launched their boarding pod. It was a small silver craft that moved quietly through space and latched onto the Rook's side with a soft click. A door opened and the 4 aliens entered the dark hallway of the ship. The inside of the Rook was cold and dusty. Their lights showed walls covered in symbols and warning signs, old Terran language, now long forgotten by most. Pipes ran along. The ceiling and wires hung like vines in some places. Everything was still. "Split up," said Srix. "Oryx and Vela, head to engineering. Kren, with me. We're going to the command deck." They moved through the ship slowly. There was no power, no lights, no sounds, just the quiet hum of their own suits. Every door they passed was either broken open or rusted shut. It looked like no one had walked these halls in a very long time. Srix and Kren reached the bridge. The large room was full of control panels, now dead and lifeless. A single chair stood in the center, where the human captain once sat. Kren walked toward one of the panels and wiped away the dust. "Looks like they tried to launch something before the end," he said. Srix didn't answer. He had found a strange control console near the captain's chair. It had a symbol on it, a red circle with 3 lines through it. He didn't recognize it, but something about it made him pause. He touched the panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights flickered. All over the ship, small lights began to glow. Power lines hummed softly. The ship was waking up. "What did you do?" Kren asked, stepping back. "I didn't mean to," Srix started to say, but he was cut off by a sudden voice. It was calm, emotionless, and very human. "Omega Protocol confirmed. Awakening sequence initiated." The voice echoed through the halls. Even in the deepest parts of the ship, it could be heard. Far away in the cryo chamber, something began to move. A thick door sealed for a century started to open. Inside was a large pod, half machine, half metal. Steam hissed as it unlocked. Blue lights flashed. Inside the pod, a human figure began to stir. Back on the bridge, the aliens were frozen, in place. "What was that?" Kren whispered. "I think we triggered an old command," said Srix. "Some kind of defense program." Kren looked worried. "Should we leave?" Srix hesitated. "No, not yet. We need to find out what we've started. Vela, Oryx, report." But there was no answer. Static came through their radios. Suddenly, the entire ship shook slightly, not from weapons, but from life. Machines began to turn on. Data flowed across the walls. Somewhere deep in the ship, old systems began scanning the galaxy again. Then, the voice returned. "Cryo unit status. Active. Warden 9 awakening. Stand by." Srix stepped back. He had heard the name Warden before. It was spoken in secret stories, myths told by survivors of the last war. The Wardens were not soldiers. They were something more. Something terrifying. Humanity's last defense. "We need to go," Srix said, more serious now. "Now." Kren, nodded quickly, but as they turned, the door behind them closed on its own. Locked. On the other side of the ship, Vela and Orcs were having the same problem. Hallways were sealing. Lights were turning red. The ship was not just waking up, it was taking control. Back in the cryo chamber, the pod fully opened. A tall human figure stepped out. Metal lines ran through his body, connecting to his spine, arms, and head. His eyes were closed. Then they opened, bright gold glowing with light. He stood still for a moment, listening. Then he spoke softly, to no one. Mission restart. Threats detected on board. Preparing ship for full reactivation. The ship responded. Doors unlocked. Weapon systems hummed. The HSS Rook was no longer a ghost, it was alive, and it had remembered its purpose. The HSS Rook hummed softly, its ancient engine slowly coming back to life. The ship's lights brightened, casting long shadows down the empty halls. The corridors no longer felt dead. Something had awakened within the warship. In the cryo chamber, the figure named Warden 9 stood tall and steady. His eyes glowed gold, shining like stars in the dim room. His body was a mix of flesh and metal, a perfect balance of human and machine. He was the last weapon made by humanity during their darkest hour. Warden 9 moved with quiet strength, stepping away from the open pod. He looked around, his mind searching for answers. The ship's artificial intelligence, Archangel, had come online. It spoke clearly, its voice smooth and calm. Warden 9, said Archangel. Welcome back. The warship is active. Threat level, unknown. Scanning the ship. Warden nodded slowly. Status report, Archangel. What is the current situation? All systems are partially online. Hull integrity 92%. Power at 40%. Environmental controls are stable. No signs of human crew remain on board. Unknown alien presence detected. 4 individuals. Warden's eyes narrowed. Aliens on board? Who are they? Identified as Zalthari. Their presence likely caused my awakening. They are intruders. Warden's mind worked fast. The Zalthari were known enemies. They had fought against humanity for years before humans disappeared. If they had found the Rook, it meant the galaxy was still watching. Where are the intruders? Now? Warden asked. Last detected in command deck and engineering bay. Archangel replied. Warden moved toward the bridge, stepping lightly on the cold metal floor. His senses were sharp, detecting sounds and vibrations too quiet for most to hear. Meanwhile, the 4 Zalthari were trying to regroup. Captain Srix held a small holographic map of the ship, his glowing eyes scanning. We triggered something, he said quietly. The ship is waking up, and so is something else. Kren was nervous. What is it? We only wanted to take some technology, not cause trouble. Srix shook his head. This isn't normal tech. This is a weapon, and it's alive. Vela and Orcs appeared in the hallway. Their suits were scratched, but they were unharmed. We are trapped, Vela said. Doors are locking on their own. Systems are turning on without control. Orcs pointed to a screen. They're activating weapons. Defensive systems are online. The team backed away slowly. Suddenly, an alert sounded. It was a deep, steady beep, a warning. It's the Warden, Srix said. We need to move fast. Back on the bridge, Warden 9 was analyzing the ship's records. Files appeared before him as glowing blue holograms. Names, battles, maps, and strategies, all human history from the final war. He paused on a file titled Phoenix Directive. A voice echoed in his mind, an old human command. If humanity falls, the Warden will rise. It is the last hope. Protect and return. Warden's purpose was clear again. He was not just a weapon. He was a guardian of humanity's future. Suddenly, a soft sound came through the comms. It was static, but with a faint human voice hidden inside. Warden, come home. We are waiting. Warden felt something strange. A connection. A memory. A hope. We must find them, he said to Archangel. The humans are alive. Archangel replied, Unknown. Records indicate no active human colonies in known space. We must search. Warden moved swiftly. The ship's engines grew stronger. The Rook had been silent for years, but now it was ready to fly again. In a distant system, a small fleet of alien ships was on alert. The Zalthari Council had learned of the Rook's awakening. Captain Srix, a leader, said through a comm, The humans may return. Prepare to send reinforcements. We cannot allow their weapon to awaken. Back. On the Rook, Warden 9 stood on the bridge, staring out into the stars. The galaxy had changed, but the threat remained. We will find our people, Warden said quietly. And we will show them that humanity never truly fell. The ship powered up its engines fully, ready to leave the shadow of the dead moon. Its mission was clear. Awaken the forgotten, reunite with the survivors, and reclaim their place among the stars. As the HSS Rook began to move, the stars outside seemed to shine brighter. The last weapon was awake. The HSS Rook moved steadily away from the dead moon, its engines glowing softly in the darkness of space. Inside the ship, Warden 9 stood on the bridge, his golden eyes watching the stars ahead. The galaxy was wide and full of dangers, but now, humanity's last weapon was awake and ready. Archangel, what is the status of our sensors? Warden asked. All systems are functioning at 70%. Sensors detect multiple ships approaching from the Zalthari sector. They are likely responding to the distress beacon emitted when the ship awoke. Warden frowned. The Zalthari did not expect this. They believe humanity was gone. They will come prepared. Far from the Rook, in the heart of the Zalthari, Council alarms sounded. Holodisplays lit the room with red warnings. The human warship is active, the Council leader said. Her voice was sharp and commanding. They have reactivated their ancient weapon. The humans were supposed to be extinct, a Council member said. How is this possible? The leader did not answer. Instead, she sent a message across. The fleet. Prepare for immediate deployment. The human threat returns. Back on the Rook, Captain Srix and his team watched the approaching fleet on their small craft's screens. They had escaped the warship before it fully locked down, but they were still close. They don't want to fight us yet, Srix said. They want to take back the ship. Can they? Kren asked nervously. Not easily, Vela said. The Rook's defenses are activating fast. In the ship's control room, Warden studied old battle data stored in the ship's memory banks. The information showed the history of humanity's last war, a time when humans fought fiercely to protect their worlds. Warden realized that even though humans were fewer now, their spirit was not broken. The Rook was a symbol of hope and power. Suddenly, the Rook sent out a powerful pulse. It was a message coded in old human language, a call for help and reunion. Across the stars, a faint signal answered. In a hidden star system, a small human colony was listening. The people there were careful and secretive, but when the signal came through, their leader stood quietly and said, It is time. The news of the Rook's awakening spread quickly. Ships from many species began to watch, the area curious and worried. Some saw the return of humanity as a threat. Others remembered the humans as warriors, strong and unpredictable. On a neutral space station, diplomats gathered to discuss what to do. The chief ambassador said, The humans disappeared, but their technology was feared. If they return, the balance of power will change. Others argued, we should contact them, try to make peace. But no one had answers. Humanity's silence had lasted for decades. Meanwhile, on the Rook, Warden prepared for the worst. The Zalthari fleet was closing in fast. We cannot wait for them to attack, Warden said. Archangel, activate the defense grid. Prepare for battle. The ship's ancient weapon systems came to life. Energy shields wrapped the Rook in a glowing bubble. Turrets on the hull began rotating, scanning the skies for targets. Captain Srix and his team were watching from their craft. They could see the ship transforming from a silent ghost to a powerful war machine. This is more than we bargained for, Srix said. They are not just a ship. They are a fortress. Suddenly, The Zalthari ships dropped out of warp. They formed a ring around the Rook, weapons ready. Warden stood calm on the bridge. They fear us. Let them come. The first shots were fired, not by the Rook, but by the Zalthari. Energy bolts streaked toward the warship. Archangel responded instantly. The shields absorbed the hits without damage. The Rook's turrets aimed and fired back, silent beams of pure energy that disabled several enemy ships. The battle was fierce, but clean. No explosions, no destruction. The Rook's weapons were designed to disable, not to kill. The goal was to send a message. The Zalthari fleet faltered. Srix saw it and spoke into his comm. Retreat. The humans are stronger than we thought. The fleet pulled back, leaving the Rook alone. After the battle, Warden addressed the bridge crew. The galaxy knows we are back. It is time to find our people, to reunite, to rebuild. Archangel added, a hidden colony known as Arch-Helix responded to our signal. It lies in the outer systems. Warden's eyes shone brighter. Set course for Arch-Helix. We will find the survivors. As the Rook jumped to warp, a new hope filled the ship. Humanity was not lost. The last weapon was only the beginning. The galaxy would soon remember the strength of humans. The HSS Rook sailed through space with steady purpose. The stars streaked past as the ship moved faster than any of the older vessels still in service. Inside, the hum of revived machinery filled the halls. The warship was no longer a silent ghost. It was alive and ready. Warden 9 stood at the front of the bridge watching the navigation screens. His glowing golden eyes reflected the bright lights of the stars. Every system on the ship was active and preparing for what was to come. Archangel, how far are we from Arch-Helix? Warden asked. Distance is 14 light years. Estimated travel time at current speed, 6 hours. The ship's AI responded, calmly. Warden nodded. Good. Prepare all systems for arrival. We do not know what we will find. Across the ship, the atmosphere was tense but hopeful. The crew, mostly machines and AI, followed Warden's commands without hesitation. His leadership was clear and strong, even though he was the last of his kind. In a hidden room deep inside the Rook, Captain Srix and his small alien team gathered. They had been allowed back on board as prisoners after their escape. But now, instead, of fear they felt curiosity. How can a weapon like you still work after all these years? Srix asked quietly, watching Warden. Warden looked at them with calm eyes. I was built to last, to protect. Even when humanity was gone, I remained. Vela, one of the aliens, stepped forward. Why did you wake up? What is your mission now? To find my people. To bring them home, Warden said firmly, and to remind the galaxy that humanity is not finished. Srix looked down, unsure what to say. You are different from what I expected. Perhaps, Warden replied, but it is time for peace and strength, not war. As the Rook neared Arch-Helix, sensors picked up signs of life. The colony was hidden in a small star system surrounded by asteroids and gas clouds, a perfect place for survival and secrecy. The colony's leader, Commander Alara, stood at the observation deck of their station. She watched the approaching warship with mixed feelings, hope, fear, and wonder. Is that really the Rook? A young officer asked. Alara nodded slowly. It is. The stories are true. The station's communications crackled to life. The voice was calm and strong, familiar yet strange. This is Warden 9 of the HSS Rook, the voice said. I come seeking survivors of humanity. Prepare for docking. Ilara's heart raced. Open the gates. Welcome them home. Docking was smooth and quick. The Rook's heavy doors opened, connecting to the colony's station. Warden 9 stepped out into the bright lights of the colony's main hall. He saw faces, men, women, and children, some older, some young. They were humans like him, but changed by time and hardship. Commander Alara approached him with a steady smile. Welcome back, Warden. We have waited for you. Warden nodded. And I have come. We have much to do. Over the next hours, stories were shared. The colony had survived in secret for generations, hiding from enemies who believed humanity was extinct. They had learned to live quietly but never forgot their history. Warden listened, learning about their struggles and hopes. The Rook had not only brought a weapon back to life but a symbol of unity. Suddenly, the calm was broken by an alert from Archangel. Incoming message from the Zalthari fleet. They have not given up. Warden's eyes narrowed. How many ships? 20 warships, advancing at high speed. Commander Ilara's face hardened. They want to destroy us before we can grow. Warden turned to the humans and aliens in the room. Then we show them that humanity is alive, and stronger than ever. Back on the Rook, the ship's weapons, systems activated fully. The glowing shields expanded around the ship like a protective dome. Turrets on the hull spun smoothly, ready to defend. Prepare for battle, Warden commanded. But this time we fight to protect, not to conquer. The battle began far from the colony. The Zalthari fleet fired first, but the Rook's shields held firm. Warden coordinated every move, his mind working faster than any human pilot. Good. The Rook used precision strikes to disable enemy ships aiming for engines and weapons rather than destruction. The Zalthari found themselves forced to retreat again. After the battle, Warden addressed the crew and the colony. This is only the beginning. The galaxy will try to stop us, but we will stand together. Commander Ilara smiled, hope shining in her eyes. With the Rook and Warden, we have a future. The humans and aliens alike looked toward the stars, ready for whatever came next. The HSS Rook had awakened not just as a weapon, but as a beacon of hope. The stars outside the colony of Arc Helix shone quietly as the HSS Rook rested in the docking bay. The ship that was once forgotten had become a symbol of hope and strength. Inside the colony, life was beginning to change. Warden 9 stood among the humans, listening to their stories and plans. He learned how they survived in the shadows, how they stayed hidden while the galaxy believed humanity was gone forever. Commander Ilara spoke with steady confidence. We cannot stay hidden much longer. The galaxy will soon know we are back. We must be ready. Warden nodded. We will prepare. Our strength will protect us, and our unity will lead us. Outside, the news of the Rook's awakening spread like wildfire. Ships from many different species began watching the area, curious and wary. Some hoped to meet the returning humans in peace. Others prepared for war. In a large council chamber far away, leaders of many alien races gathered. The Council of Species had ruled the galaxy for decades, keeping peace and order. But the return of humanity was a surprise none were ready for. The humans are back, said one leader. Their weapon, the Rook, has awakened. Humanity was supposed to be extinct, another said. What does this mean for us? The council debated and argued. Some wanted to reach out and make peace. Others feared a new war. Finally, the council leader spoke. We will send a delegation to speak with them, but we must also prepare our fleets. We cannot underestimate humanity's power. Back on Arc Helix, preparations were underway. Humans and their alien allies worked together, repairing old ships, building new defenses, and training for the challenges ahead. Warden walked through the colony, watching the people. He felt something he had never expected. Hope. He stopped near a group of children playing with small flying drones. Their laughter filled the air. Your future is brighter than you know, Warden said quietly. Commander Ilara approached. Warden, we have received a message from an old human ship. It was lost during the war but has been found drifting near the outer rim. Warden's eyes gleamed. Then we are not alone. We must find them. The Rook was prepared to leave once again. Its engines glowed bright, and its shields were stronger than ever. As the ship left the safety of the colony, Warden stood on the bridge, ready for what came next. Suddenly, The ship's communications hummed with a new message. It was from the lost human ship. "Help us," the voice said weakly. "We have survivors. We are surrounded." Warden did not hesitate. "Set course immediately." The Rook jumped to faster than light speed, heading toward the distant distress signal. Meanwhile, the Council of Species sent their own fleets toward Arch-Helix. They wanted to stop humanity's return before it could grow stronger. In the cold darkness of space, fleets gathered preparing for a conflict that could change the galaxy. But Warden and the humans were not afraid. When the Rook arrived at the distress signal, the lost ship was trapped among hostile ships. It was old and damaged, but still held a small crew. Warden ordered the Rook to move forward. The warship's powerful energy beams cut through the enemy ship's defenses, creating a path to the survivors. With careful precision, the Rook escorted the lost ship away from danger. Once safe, the survivors were brought aboard. They were tired but filled with hope. Warden greeted them with a steady voice. "You are home now. We will protect you." The rescued humans told stories of hardship, of surviving against all odds. Warden listened, knowing their strength would help rebuild humanity's future. As news of the rescue spread, more lost human colonies and ships responded to the Rook's call. The galaxy was beginning to change. Humanity was returning, not as victims, but as survivors and warriors of hope. The Rook was no longer just a weapon, it was a beacon of life. The HSS Rook glided through space carrying hope for a new beginning. The ship was no longer alone. With every passing day, more human survivors and their allies joined the growing fleet. Humanity was no longer hidden. They were ready to face the galaxy. On the bridge, Warden 9 stood tall, his golden eyes steady and bright. Beside him, Commander Ilara watched the stars with a calm but determined look. "The Council of Species has sent another message," said Archangel, the ship's AI. "They offer talks, but also prepare fleets near our colonies." Warden nodded, slowly. "We must be ready, not just to defend, but to show them who we are now." Ilara smiled. "Not just weapons, not just soldiers. We are more than that." The galaxy was watching. For decades, humans had been a story told in whispers, a memory thought to be lost. Now they stood tall again, not with anger or revenge, but with strength and peace. Warden sent out a message on all frequencies. "We are humanity. We have returned, not to conquer but to live. We seek friendship, but we will protect what is ours." Many ships across the stars listened. Some answered with hope. Others responded with caution. In the coming weeks, ambassadors from many species arrived at Arch-Helix. They came to meet the humans who had returned from the shadows. Meetings were held, agreements made, and new friendships started. Warden 9 watched these moments carefully. He had been built as a weapon, but he understood now that the greatest strength was unity. One day, as Warden walked among the people, a young child approached him. "Are you a hero?" the child asked, looking up with wide eyes. Warden smiled, softly. "I was made to protect. But the real heroes are those who never gave up hope." The child nodded, then ran off to play. But not all were ready for peace. Some groups in the galaxy still feared humanity's power. Secret ships moved through space, watching, waiting for a chance. Warden knew that the path ahead would not be easy. "We must stay strong," he told the council, "but we must also be wise. Our strength is in our heart and mind, not just weapons." Ilara agreed. "And in our willingness to build a future together." The Rook became more than a warship. It was a symbol of rebirth. It carried scientists, builders, and dreamers all working to restore humanity's place. The ship's AI, Archangel, helped create new technology based on old designs and new ideas. The colony grew, and with it, hope. One evening, Warden stood on the observation deck looking out at the stars. "Ilara," he said quietly, "we have come far, but this is only the beginning." She joined him, looking at the vast sky. Then let us make sure the future we build is one we can all be proud of. As the stars twinkled overhead, the HSS Rook and the people of Arc Helix prepared for the next chapter. Humanity was reforged, not by war but by hope, not by fear but by courage, and the galaxy would remember them forever.